The morning started like any other day on Earth until the sky turned dark with massive silver ships that appeared from nowhere. Nobody had seen them coming. The ships were so big, they blocked out the sun over major cities around the world. People stopped walking on the streets and looked up with their mouths open wide in shock and fear. Commander Park Dae-ho was drinking his morning coffee in the military base in Seoul when his assistant ran into his office. The young soldier was breathing hard and his face was white with terror. "Sir, you need to see this right now," he said, pointing at the large screen on the wall. Park Dae-ho put down his coffee cup and turned to look at what was happening. The screen showed the biggest spaceship anyone had ever imagined floating right above the city. It was at least 10 miles long and 3 miles wide. The metal surface was smooth like a mirror and reflected the buildings below. Strange blue lights pulsed along its sides like a heartbeat. Park Dae-ho had been a soldier for 20 years, but he had never seen anything that made him feel so small and helpless. All around the world, people were getting the same shocking view. Giant alien ships hung in the sky above New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, and every other major city. The ships made no sound at all, which somehow made them even more frightening. Children cried and pointed at the sky, while their parents tried to call relatives on phones that had stopped working properly. Then every screen on Earth turned on by itself. Television sets, computer monitors, phone screens, and even electronic billboards all showed the same image at the exact same time. A tall alien creature appeared on every display. The being had gray skin that looked like smooth stone and large black eyes that seemed to look right through the camera. Its head was bigger than a human head, and it had no hair at all. The alien began to speak in perfect English, but somehow every person on Earth heard it in their own language, as if the creature could speak directly into their minds. "My name is Ambassador Kreltar, and I represent the Galactic Council. We have been watching your species for many years, and we have decided that it is time for you to join our civilization." Dar Kim Hae-jin was in her laboratory studying quantum physics when every computer in her lab started showing the alien broadcast. She was a brilliant scientist who had spent her whole life trying to understand the mysteries of the universe, but nothing had prepared her for this moment. She grabbed her tablet and started recording everything the alien said. "You humans have reached a level of technology that makes you dangerous to yourselves and others," the alien continued. "Your species is violent and unpredictable. You fight wars over small differences, and you destroy your own planet with pollution and waste. We cannot allow this behavior to spread to other worlds." The alien paused, and its black eyes seemed to stare directly at each person watching. "We are giving you 30 days to surrender your independence and join the Galactic Council as a servant species. You will give up your weapons, and your governments will be dissolved. Our representatives will take control of your planet and guide your species toward a more peaceful existence." Captain Lee Dong-min was on the lunar mining base when the transmission reached them through the communication satellites. He and his crew of 50 miners had been working on the moon for 6 months, collecting rare minerals for Earth. The miners gathered around the main screen in their cafeteria and watched in silence as the alien delivered its message. "If you refuse our generous offer," the alien said, "the consequences will be severe. We have destroyed many species who chose to resist rather than accept our guidance. Your weapons cannot harm our ships, and your military forces are like insects compared to our power. We do not want to eliminate your species, but we will do so if necessary." Dr. Kim Hae-jin noticed that her instruments were going crazy while the alien spoke. The electromagnetic readings were unlike anything she had ever seen. The alien technology was so advanced that just the act of broadcasting was causing disruptions in Earth devices. She realized that these beings possessed power beyond human understanding. The alien raised one of its long gray hands toward the camera. "To demonstrate our capabilities, we will now destroy 3 of your mining stations on the moon. This is not an act of war, but a simple display of what will happen if you choose to resist us. You have 30 days to decide." The transmission ended, and every screen on Earth went back to normal, but nothing would ever be the same again. People stood in the streets looking up at the alien ships that still hung motionless in the sky. Some people started praying, while others called their families to say goodbye. Many just stood there in shock, unable to believe what they had witnessed. Captain Lee Dong-min felt the ground shake under his feet. Even though they were on the moon, he looked out the window and saw 3 bright Flashes of light in the distance where the other mining bases had been. The flashes lasted only a few seconds, and then there was nothing left where 3 bases full of people had been working just moments before. There was now only empty space. Commander Park Dae-ho received the urgent report from the moon base. The 3 mining stations had been completely destroyed with no survivors. The weapons used by the aliens had turned solid matter into pure energy in an instant. No human technology could create such devastating power within hours. Emergency meetings were being held in every capital city around the world. Presidents and prime ministers tried to figure out what to do. Some leaders wanted to negotiate with the aliens, while others demanded immediate surrender. Many people thought that resistance was impossible against such advanced technology. Dr. Kim Hye-jin worked through the night analyzing the data from the alien broadcast. She discovered that the transmission had left traces of alien technology in Earth computers. These traces might be the key to understanding how the alien ships worked. But she needed more time to study them. The alien ships remained perfectly still in the sky day and night. They never moved or made any sound, but their presence changed everything. People were afraid to go outside, and many stopped going to work altogether. The stock markets crashed, and governments struggled to maintain order as panic spread around the world. Young engineer Shin Beil-ram was one of the few people who felt excited rather than terrified by the alien arrival. She had always dreamed of meeting beings from other worlds, and now her dream had come true. She started collecting every piece of information about the aliens that she could find. President Choi Soo-bin called an emergency meeting with world leaders to decide how humanity should respond. The meeting was held in a secure bunker deep underground where the alien ships hopefully could not see or hear what was being discussed. The fate of the entire human race would be decided in that room. Some leaders argued that humanity had no choice but to surrender. Others believed that the aliens might be willing to negotiate better terms. A few brave souls suggested that humanity should fight back, even though it seemed impossible to win against such powerful enemies. Admiral Yang Min-ho stood up in the meeting and spoke the words that many people were thinking. We are human beings, and we have never surrendered our freedom to anyone. If these aliens want our world, they will have to take it from us by force. We may die fighting, but we will die as free people. The 30-day countdown had begun, and humanity faced the most important decision in its history. The world held its breath as President Choi Soo-bin walked up to the podium outside the United Nations building in New York City. Millions of people watched on their screens as she prepared to give humanity answer to the alien ultimatum. The massive silver ship still hung in the sky above the city, casting its shadow over the streets below. President Choi Soo-bin looked directly into the camera, and her voice was strong and clear. We have heard your demands, Ambassador Kreltar, and we have made our decision. The human race has fought for freedom for thousands of years. We have never bowed to tyrants, and we will not start now. She paused and looked up at the alien ship floating above them. You ask us to surrender our independence and become your servants. We reject your ultimatum completely. If you want our world, you will have to take it from our cold, dead hands. Humanity chooses to fight. The alien response came within 1 hour of the broadcast. Bright beams of energy shot down from the ships and struck military bases around the world. The weapons were so powerful they turned concrete and steel into glowing vapor in seconds. Entire army bases disappeared in flashes of blue light that could be seen from Space Commander Park Dae-ho had expected this attack, and he was ready. Deep underground bunkers that had been secretly built over many years suddenly came to life. Hidden doors opened in mountains, and underground tunnels connected cities across continents. The aliens had destroyed the obvious targets, but the real human military was safely hidden below ground. Dr. Kim Hye-jin was in one of these secret facilities studying the alien technology when the bombardment began. Her underground laboratory was filled with the most advanced equipment Earth could build. She had been working day and night since the alien broadcast, trying to find weaknesses in their technology. The electromagnetic readings she had recorded during the alien transmission were the key to everything. Dr. Kim Hye-jin discovered that the alien ships used quantum processors to control their systems. These processors were incredibly powerful, but they had one major weakness: they could be disrupted by very specific electromagnetic frequencies within Hours of her discovery, Dr. Kim Hai-jin shared her findings with resistance groups around the world. Scientists in hidden laboratories began working to create weapons that could generate the right frequencies. It was humanity's first real hope of fighting back against the seemingly invincible alien technology. Captain Lee Dong-min and his team had been trapped on the moon when the attacks began, but they were not going to give up without a fight. The aliens had destroyed 3 mining bases as a demonstration, but they had left the main lunar facility untouched. Captain Lee Dong-min realized this was a mistake that could help humanity. A small alien scout ship had crashed near the Sea of Japan during the initial bombardment, and Captain Lee Dong-min led a dangerous mission to recover it. The wreckage contained technology that could change everything, but getting to it would require fighting through automated alien defenses that were still active. Captain Lee Dong-min selected 20 of his best soldiers for the mission. They knew that most of them would probably die, but the information they could gather might save billions of lives on Earth. The team used small boats to approach the crash site under cover of darkness while alien ships patrolled overhead. The crashed ship was partially buried in the shallow water, but its defense systems were still working. Laser turrets tracked the approaching humans and began firing energy beams that turned seawater into steam. The soldiers had to dive underwater and swim between the shots to reach the wreckage. Half of Captain Lee Dong-min's team died in the first 5 minutes of the assault, but the survivors managed to disable the defense systems and enter the alien ship. Inside, they found technology that seemed like magic compared to human science. The walls were alive with pulsing lights, and the computers responded to thought instead of touch. Young engineer Shin Bio-ram was working in her hidden laboratory when she received the data from Captain Lee Dong-min's mission. What she discovered shocked her more than anything else. The alien ships were not just advanced machines, they were partially alive. The technology was based on organic neural networks that could think and learn. This discovery opened up completely new possibilities for fighting the aliens. Shin Bio-ram realized that if the ships were partially alive, then they could be killed using biological weapons. She began working on a virus that would specifically target the organic components of alien technology. The virus Shin Bio-ram created was unlike anything that had ever existed before. It was designed to attack the neural networks that controlled alien ships and weapons. If it worked, the virus would cause alien technology to literally die from within. The biological weapon could spread through their quantum communication networks and infect entire fleets. Meanwhile, resistance cells were forming in every country on Earth. General Nam Ki-seok organized groups across Asia, while other military leaders did the same on different continents. Each cell operated independently so that if one group was discovered and destroyed, the others could continue fighting. The resistance cells used Dr. Kim Hai-jin research to build electromagnetic weapons that could disrupt alien technology. They also began testing Shin Bio-ram biological virus on pieces of alien wreckage. The early results were promising, but they needed to test it on a functioning alien ship to be sure it would work. Underground factories hidden in caves and abandoned mines began producing the new weapons. Human engineers worked with whatever materials they could find to create devices that could generate the specific frequencies needed to disrupt alien quantum processors. The weapons looked crude compared to alien technology, but they might be effective enough to matter. Communication between resistance groups was difficult because the aliens were monitoring all normal channels but Young communications specialist Park. So Young managed to create a new type of encrypted message system that used quantum entanglement to send information instantly across any distance without being detected. President Choi Soo-bin moved to a secure underground facility where she continued to coordinate the global resistance effort. World leaders who had survived the initial attacks worked together like never before. The threat of extinction had united humanity in a way that nothing else ever could. The aliens began landing ground troops in major cities around the world. These soldiers were tall and thin with the same gray skin as Ambassador Krell Tar. They carried weapons that could dissolve human tanks with single shots, and they seemed to know exactly where human forces were hiding. But the alien ground forces had not expected the type of warfare that humans began using. Instead of fighting conventional battles, human soldiers used hit-and-run tactics. that struck from unexpected directions then disappeared before the aliens could respond. The unpredictable nature of human tactics confused the invaders who were used to more organized resistance. Colonel Beak Minji led successful guerrilla attacks against alien forces in Europe. Her teams would strike at alien supply convoys, then vanish into the underground tunnel systems that connected cities across the continent. The aliens found it impossible to predict where the next attack would come from. As the resistance grew stronger, more people joined the fight. Ordinary citizens who had never been soldiers learned to use the new electromagnetic weapons. Factory workers became saboteurs and teachers became spies. Everyone contributed to the effort to drive the invaders from Earth. The aliens had expected humanity to surrender within days of the initial bombardment. Instead, they found themselves fighting a war unlike anything they had ever experienced before. Human creativity and determination were proving to be weapons that alien technology could not easily counter. Ambassador Krell Tar received reports from his military commanders that confused and frustrated him. The humans were supposed to be primitive and easy to defeat, but instead, they were adapting to alien technology faster than anyone thought possible. The war that should have lasted a few days was stretching into weeks. Deep in her laboratory, Shin Vio-Ram prepared to test her biological weapon on a real alien target. Captain Lee Dong-min had captured a small alien drone during one of his raids and brought it to the underground facility. If the virus worked on this drone, it could be deployed against the entire alien fleet. The test began at midnight when security was Titus. Shin Bio-Ram carefully introduced her virus into the drone organic systems. At first nothing happened, but then the lights on the drone began to flicker and dim. Within minutes, the entire device shut down and would not restart no matter what the scientists tried. The biological weapon worked perfectly. The virus had killed the organic neural network that controlled the drone without damaging the mechanical components. This meant that Shin-Bio-Ram could potentially disable entire alien fleets without destroying the technology that humanity could later study and use. News of the successful test spread quickly through the resistance networks. Human morale improved dramatically as word got out that they finally had a weapon that could hurt the aliens. The war was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion began, humanity had real hope of victory. News of humanity defiance traveled faster than light across the galaxy through the quantum communication networks that connected all civilized worlds. The Galactic Council had expected the humans to surrender quickly like every other species they had conquered, but instead they were watching something completely unexpected unfold on the Council homeworld of Nexus Prime. Ambassador Krell Tar stood before the ruling assembly trying to explain why the human campaign was taking so much longer than planned. The massive chamber was filled with representatives from hundreds of different alien species, and many of them were asking uncomfortable questions. The Vorlon Empire representative slammed his armored fist on his desk and demanded to know why the humans had not been crushed immediately. These creatures are primitives with basic technology, he growled through his translator. How can they possibly resist our superior forces for more than a few days? The Epsilon Collective Hive Mind spoke through their representative in a voice that sounded like buzzing insects. We are concerned that the humans may have unknown allies or hidden technology that we have not detected. Perhaps they are not as primitive as our scouts reported. Even the peaceful harmony worlds were beginning to question the wisdom of the human campaign. Their representative spoke in musical tones that conveyed doubt and worry. We have always believed that peaceful integration was better than forced conquest. Are we certain that war is the only solution to the human problem? Ambassador Krell Tar felt his authority slipping away as more council members expressed doubts about the campaign. The humans were supposed to be an easy conquest that would demonstrate the council power to other potentially rebellious species. Instead, they had become an embarrassment that was making the council look weak. Back on Earth, General Nam Ki-seok was coordinating resistance operations across Asia from a hidden command center built inside a mountain in South Korea. His tactical displays showed hundreds of small unit actions happening simultaneously across multiple continents. The resistance was growing stronger every day. Each resistance cell operated independently, using different pieces of Dr. Kim Hai-jin research to build weapons suited to their specific situations. Some groups focused on electromagnetic pulse devices while others specialized in Shin, bio-rum biological weapons. The diversity of approaches made it impossible for the aliens to develop countermeasures. The first major victory came when Captain Lee Dongmin forces successfully attacked an alien supply depot hidden in the mountains of Japan. The facility was heavily defended, but the humans used a combination of electromagnetic weapons and biological virus to disable the alien defenses. Before launching their assault, the biological weapon the Shin Biorum had developed worked even better than expected when released into the alien supply depot. The virus spread through their organic systems like wildfire. Within hours, every piece of alien technology in the facility had died, leaving behind only inactive metal shells. The psychological impact on the alien forces was enormous. They had never faced an enemy that could turn their own technology against them. The organic neural networks that made their ships and weapons so powerful had become a weakness that humans were exploiting with deadly efficiency. Captain Lee Dong-min team recovered massive amounts of alien technology from the supply depot, including weapons, power sources, and most importantly, detailed star charts that showed the location of other alien facilities. The intelligence they gathered would help resistance forces plan attacks across the entire solar system. Colonel Beek Minji used the new intelligence to launch coordinated strikes against alien ground forces in Europe. Her teams had become experts at hit and run warfare that kept the aliens constantly off balance. The invaders never knew where the next attack would come from or what new weapon the humans would use. The aliens tried to adapt their tactics, but human unpredictability was proving to be their greatest advantage every time. The aliens thought they understood human strategy. The resistance would switch to completely different methods that caught them by surprise. Young communications specialist Park So-young made another breakthrough when she successfully hacked into alien communication networks using technology captured from the supply depot. For the first time, humans could listen to alien military communications and learn about their plans in advance. The intelligence that Park So-young gathered revealed something shocking. The alien forces were running low on supplies and reinforcements. The war that was supposed to last 30 days was now in its third month, and the aliens had not prepared for such a long campaign. The Kim Hai-jin research teams were working around the clock to reverse engineer alien technology and adapt it for human use. They had discovered that alien power sources could be modified to work with human equipment, creating hybrid weapons that combined alien energy with human creativity. The hybrid weapons were more effective than anything humans had ever built before. They could punch through alien armor that had previously been impossible to damage, and they gave resistance fighters a real chance to win battles against superior alien forces. Shin Bio-Ram biological weapons were spreading through alien networks faster than the invaders could contain them. Every day, more alien ships and facilities went offline as the virus killed their organic control systems. The aliens were beginning to realize that their greatest technological advantage had become their greatest vulnerability. Reports were coming in from resistance cells around the world that alien morale was dropping significantly. The invaders had expected an easy victory, but instead they were fighting a war of attrition against an enemy that refused to give up no matter how hopeless the situation seemed. In space, the alien fleet was experiencing equipment failures at an alarming rate. Xing Bio-Rem virus had spread through their quantum communication networks and was infecting ships throughout the solar system. Many alien vessels were forced to operate with reduced capabilities as their organic systems died. The Galactic Council was receiving disturbing reports from other parts of their empire. Species that had been conquered centuries ago were watching the human resistance with growing interest. Some were beginning to ask why they should remain loyal to a council that could not even defeat one primitive planet. On the mining world of Kepler-7, the native Aquarian species had been enslaved by the Council for over 400 years. But news of human defiance was spreading among the workers, and they were beginning to remember what freedom felt like. The Zephyrian Republic, which had been one of the founding members of the Galactic Council, was privately questioning whether the organization had become too authoritarian. Their representatives were holding secret meetings to discuss the possibility of supporting the humans. Ambassador Krell Tar was facing a crisis of confidence as more council members began to doubt his leadership. The human campaign that was supposed to demonstrate council power was instead showing their weaknesses to the entire galaxy. Commander Park Dae-ho received intelligence reports indicating that several alien species were considering withdrawing their support from the council. The war that started as humanity's fight for survival was beginning to look like the beginning of a galactic revolution. The resistance networks were sharing information and weapons technology at an unprecedented rate. Underground factories were producing electromagnetic pulse weapons, biological viruses, and hybrid energy weapons in quantities that surprised even the human leadership. Ordinary people who had never been soldiers were learning to fight with alien weapons that they had captured or modified. The entire human population was becoming a military force that the aliens could not defeat through conventional means. Children who were too young to fight were serving as messengers and scouts, moving through the underground tunnel systems that connected resistance bases. The aliens had underestimated human determination, and now they were paying the price for that mistake. The alien ground forces were being forced to retreat from many cities as human resistance made it impossible for them to maintain control. Urban warfare favored the defenders, and humans knew their own cities better than any alien invader could. Admiral Young Min-ho launched a desperate assault on the main alien command ship orbiting Earth. The attack was a suicide mission that had little chance of success, but the symbolic value was enormous. The mere fact that humans were willing to attack the alien flagship shocked council members across the galaxy. Though Admiral Young Min-ho's mission failed and cost him his life, the psychological impact was devastating to alien morale. The humans were not just defending their planet, they were taking the fight directly to the alien leadership. The failure of the human campaign was becoming impossible for the Galactic Council to hide from. Their own people species throughout their empire were beginning to question whether the council was as powerful as they claimed to be. News of human victories was spreading through black market communication channels that the council could not control. Rebellious groups on dozens of worlds were beginning to organize their own resistance movements inspired by the human example. Dr. Kim Jin made her greatest discovery when she realized that alien technology could be completely reverse engineered. Using human mathematical principles, the aliens had developed their science along different lines, but human creativity was finding ways to improve on their designs, the hybrid technologies that resulted from combining human. The emergency session of the Galactic Council was unlike any meeting in their 1,000-year history. Representatives from hundreds of species filled the Great Chamber on Nexus Prime, but instead of the usual orderly discussions, there was chaos and angry arguments echoing through the vast space. Ambassador Krell Tar stood at the central podium trying to maintain control as council members shouted accusations and demands. The human war had been going on for 4 months now, and what should have been a simple demonstration of power had become a galactic embarrassment. The Vorlon Empire representative rose from his seat, his massive armored form towering over the other delegates. "This is unacceptable," he roared through his translator. "A single primitive planet has made fools of us all. How can we claim to rule the galaxy when we cannot defeat one species of backwards creatures?" The Epsilon collective hive mind buzzed with agitation as their representative spoke. "We have received reports that 17 different worlds are now experiencing civil unrest. Our own intelligence networks indicate that rebel groups are using human tactics against our forces." The Peaceful Harmony World's delegate sang her concern in melodic tones that conveyed deep worry. "The cost of this war is becoming too high in both resources and reputation. Perhaps it is time to consider negotiation rather than continued violence." Ambassador Krell Tar felt sweat forming on his gray skin as he realized that his political career and possibly his life were in danger. The council did not tolerate failure, and the human campaign was failing spectacularly. He needed to regain control of the situation quickly or face execution. Meanwhile, on Earth, Admiral Yang Min-ho was planning the most audacious military operation in human history. He knew that his attack on the alien command ship would almost certainly fail, but the symbolic importance was worth any sacrifice. The massive alien flagship hung in Orbit like a metal moon, bristling with weapons that could destroy entire cities, Admiral Yang Min-ho had gathered every available human spacecraft, including civilian vessels converted into makeshift warships for what everyone knew would be a suicide. Mission Dr. Kim Hai. Jin had equipped the human fleet with every electromagnetic weapon and biological virus that could be produced in the underground factories. The ships were loaded with hybrid technologies that combined human creativity with alien power sources. The attack began at dawn when Admiral Yang Min-ho led his fleet of converted spacecraft in a desperate charge toward the alien flagship. The enemy weapons opened fire immediately, turning the first wave of human ships into brilliant explosions that lit up the sky. Admiral Yang Min-ho's ship was hit by 3 separate energy beams, but he kept flying toward his target, even as his vessel broke apart around him. His final transmission was heard by resistance fighters around the world. "We die as free humans, and we die with honor." The Admiral's sacrifice achieved something that no military victory could have accomplished. The sight of humans willingly attacking the most powerful ship in the alien fleet sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. The psychological impact was devastating to alien morale within. Hours of Admiral Yang Min-ho death reports were coming in from across the galaxy that rebel groups on dozens of worlds had launched their own attacks against Council facilities. The human example was inspiring revolution throughout the Empire. Commander Park Dae-ho received the first secret communication from an alien species that wanted to help humanity. The message came through encrypted quantum channels that even the Council could not monitor. The sender identified themselves as representatives of the Aquarian Federation. The Aquarians had been conquered by the Galactic Council over 400 years ago and forced to work as slaves in underwater mining operations, but they had never forgotten their freedom, and the human resistance had rekindled their hope for liberation. The secret message contained detailed intelligence about alien weaknesses and tactical information that could help human forces plan more effective attacks. The Aquarians offered to coordinate rebel activities on their homeworld with human operations on Earth. Dr. Kim Hai-jin was amazed by the alien intelligence data. The Aquarians had been studying Council technology for centuries and had discovered weaknesses that humans had not even suspected existed. The collaboration between species opened up new possibilities for resistance. Captain Lee Dong-min was chosen to lead the first joint human-alien operation using intelligence provided by the Aquarian rebels. The target was a major Council supply depot on one of Jupiter's moons that served as a staging area for operations throughout the solar system. The mission required perfect coordination between human forces and Aquarian saboteurs who would disable the depot defenses from within. Captain Lee Dong-min had never worked with aliens before, but he was willing to trust them if it meant striking a blow against the Council. The joint operation was a complete success. The Aquarian rebels disabled the depot shield generators while Captain Lee Dong-min forces attacked from space. The facility was destroyed along with enough supplies to support the alien war effort for months. News of the successful joint operation spread quickly through resistance networks on dozens of worlds. Species that had been conquered by the Council began to realize that cooperation with humans could lead to their own liberation. The Zephyrian Republic, which had been one of the founding members of the Galactic Council, was secretly meeting with human representatives. The Zephyrians had grown tired of the Council authoritarian rule and were impressed by human determination and creativity. General Nam Ki-seok received an encrypted message from Zephyrian military officers who wanted to coordinate rebel activities. The Zephyrians controlled several key military installations that could be turned against the Council if the timing was right. The alien military doctrine that had served the Council for centuries was crumbling in the face of unprecedented challenges. Human tactics combined with alien insider knowledge created new forms of warfare that Council strategists could not counter. Colonel Baek Min-ji was leading joint operations with rebel alien forces in the European sector. The combination of human guerrilla tactics and alien technology was proving devastatingly effective against Council ground forces. The traditional hierarchical command structure that the Council relied on was proving inadequate against the chaos of multi-species rebellion. Human creativity and alien knowledge were creating tactical situations that had never existed before. Shin Biological weapons had evolved into something far more sophisticated than simple viruses. Her new organic programs could actually reprogram alien neural networks to serve human purposes instead of council directives. The reprogrammed alien technology was often superior to its original design. Human ingenuity was finding ways to improve alien systems in ways that their creators had never imagined. The students were surpassing their teachers. Dr. Kim Hai-jin research teams were now working with alien scientists who had defected from the council. The combined knowledge of multiple species was producing technological breakthroughs that neither humans nor aliens could have achieved alone. The hybrid technologies emerging from these collaborations were revolutionary energy weapons that could penetrate any known armor, communication systems that were impossible to intercept, and transportation devices that could move instantly across vast distances. Young communications specialist Park So-young had established secure quantum communication links with rebel groups on 17 different worlds. The resistance was becoming a truly galactic movement with Earth as its symbolic center. The Galactic Council was discovering that their greatest strength was also their greatest weakness. The same communication networks that allowed them to control their empire were now being used by rebels to coordinate resistance activities. Intelligence reports indicated that at least 30 different species were experiencing some form of civil unrest. Inspired by the human example, the Council Empire was beginning to fracture as oppressed peoples remembered what freedom meant. Ambassador Krell Tar was facing calls for his removal from office as the human campaign continued to deteriorate. Several council members were privately discussing the possibility of ending the war and withdrawing from human space. The economic cost of the war was becoming unsustainable. The council had never faced such prolonged resistance, and their military resources were being stretched thin across multiple fronts as rebellions erupted throughout their territory. The Epsilon Collective formally announced that they were withdrawing their support for the human campaign, citing excessive costs and diminishing returns. Their decision sent shockwaves through the council as other species began to reconsider their own involvement. The Harmony Worlds followed the Epsilon Collective example and declared that they would no longer participate in what they called an unjust war against a species that only wanted freedom. 7 other minor species made similar announcements within days. Ambassador Krell-Tar government on his homeworld was facing internal pressure as his own people began to question the wisdom of the human war. The political coalition that had supported him was crumbling as the military failures mounted. The Great Galactic Council that had ruled space for over a millennium was facing the first serious challenge to its authority in centuries. What had started as a simple conquest of one primitive planet had become an existential threat to their empire. Commander Park Dae-ho received intelligence reports indicating the secret meeting took place in an abandoned asteroid mining station halfway between Earth and Mars. Representatives from 12 different alien species had risked everything to attend this gathering that could change the fate of the galaxy forever. Commander Park Dae-ho arrived at the meeting wearing a simple gray uniform rather than his military dress. The humans wanted to show that they came as equals seeking alliance, not as conquerors demanding submission. The difference was crucial for species that had suffered under council tyranny for centuries. The first alien to speak was Ambassador Valkyra of the Aquarian Federation. Her blue-scaled skin shimmered under the station artificial lights as she addressed the assembled delegates. "We have waited 400 years for this moment," she said. "The council told us that resistance was impossible, but the humans have proven them wrong." The Zephyrian Republic representative was a tall being with crystalline features that reflected light in rainbow patterns. General Vex Morlan had commanded council forces for decades before defecting to join the rebellion. "We bring you detailed intelligence about council military capabilities and strategic weaknesses," he announced. Dr. Kim Hai-jin sat beside Commander Park Dae-ho, taking notes on everything the alien delegates revealed. The scientific knowledge being shared at this meeting was worth more than all the weapons humanity had captured during months of fighting. The Harmony World's delegate sang her words in musical tones that conveyed deep emotion. "For too long, we have been forced to participate in conquest and oppression that goes against our fundamental beliefs," she sang. The humans have shown us that there is another way. 1. The alien species shared their grievances against the Galactic Council. The Crystalline Collective had been forced to mine rare minerals that poisoned their homeworld. The vapor beings had been prevented from exploring new dimensions, the tree. People had watched their forests burn to make space for Council military bases. Captain Li Dong Min listened carefully as each species described their unique capabilities and what they could contribute to the growing alliance. The diversity of talents and technologies was staggering. When combined properly, these species could create a force that even the Council could not defeat. The meeting continued for 3 days as representatives worked out the details of formal cooperation agreements. Each species would maintain their independence, while contributing to the joint effort according to their abilities and resources. Xin Ram presented her latest biological weapons to the alien scientists, who were amazed by her innovative approach to warfare. The virus programs she had developed could be adapted to work against any Council technology, regardless of which species had originally designed it. The Aquarian Federation offered to provide underwater bases that could serve as hidden manufacturing centers for the Alliance. Their ocean worlds were perfect for building the hybrid technologies that Dr. Kim Hai-Jin teams were developing. The Zephyrian Republic brought detailed star charts showing the location of every major Council installation within 50 light years. They also provided access codes that could disable security systems at critical facilities. The alliance that emerged from these negotiations was unlike anything that had ever existed in galactic history. Instead of one species dominating others, this was a true partnership between equals who shared common goals and values. General Nam Ki Seok was placed in charge of coordinating joint military operations, while Dr. Kim Hai-Jin would lead the combined scientific research efforts. Each alien species appointed representatives to work directly with their human counterparts. The first major joint operation was an assault on the Council fortress world of Gamma Prime, which served as their main military training facility. The planet was heavily defended, but intelligence provided by Zephyrian defectors revealed critical weaknesses. Captain Li Dong Min led a combined fleet of human and alien ships in the attack, while rebel forces on the planet itself sabotaged the defense systems from within. The coordination required was incredibly complex, but the months of working together had built trust between the species. The attack on Gamma Prime was a complete success. The fortress world fell within hours as rebel forces disabled the planetary shields, while the joint fleet destroyed the orbital defense platforms. The psychological impact was enormous as news spread throughout Council territory. The weapons and technology captured at Gamma Prime included advanced starship designs and manufacturing equipment that could produce vessels superior to anything the Council possessed. The Alliance suddenly had the tools needed to build a fleet capable of challenging Council supremacy. Young communications specialist Park So-young established a secure communication network that connected rebel cells on over 50 worlds. The quantum entanglement technology she had developed made it impossible for the Council to intercept or trace Alliance messages. The success at Gamma Prime triggered a wave of rebellions across Council space as oppressed species realized that victory was actually possible. Planets that had been quiet for centuries suddenly erupted in revolution as local populations rose against their occupiers. Colonel Baek Min-ji was assigned to train alien rebels in human guerrilla warfare techniques. The tactics that had proven so effective on Earth were quickly adapted for use on different worlds with various environments and conditions. The Council military found itself fighting on hundreds of fronts simultaneously as the rebellion spread faster than they could respond. Their forces were designed for conquest, not for defending against coordinated insurgency across their entire empire. Bio-Ram biological weapons were being mass-produced in hidden facilities throughout Alliance territory. The virus programs could now be customized for different types of Council technology, making them effective against any enemy equipment. The hybrid technologies emerging from human-alien cooperation were proving superior to pure Council science. Energy weapons that could penetrate any known armor faster than light communication systems, and manufacturing techniques that could produce equipment In a fraction of the normal time, Ambassador Valkyra revealed that the Aquarian Federation had been secretly building a massive underwater shipyard on their homeworld for over a century. The facility could produce Alliance warships using designs that combined the best features from all member species. The new Alliance ships were sleek and deadly, combining human creativity with alien engineering. The vessels could outfight any Council ship in single combat, and they were being produced in quantities that would soon give the Alliance numerical superiority. General Vex Morland provided detailed information about Council command structure and decision-making processes. This intelligence allowed Alliance strategists to predict Council responses and stay one step ahead of their enemy. The Harmony Worlds used their diplomatic connections to secretly negotiate with neutral species throughout the galaxy. Many planets that had remained independent were now considering joining the Alliance rather than risk conquest by the weakening Council. Dr. Kim Hai Jin made breakthrough discoveries almost daily as she worked with alien scientists who brought completely different approaches to research problems. The combination of diverse thinking styles was producing innovations at an unprecedented rate. The Alliance was growing stronger every day as more species joined the rebellion against Council tyranny. What had started as humanity's desperate fight for survival had become a galactic movement for freedom and self-determination. Intelligence reports indicated that several major Council species were secretly negotiating among themselves about the possibility of switching sides. The empire that had seemed invincible just months earlier was now facing total collapse. Commander Park Daeho received word that the Council had recalled most of their forces from human space to deal with rebellions in their core territories. Earth was essentially free for the first time since the invasion began. The Alliance military was now large enough to begin offensive operations against Council strongholds rather than just defending rebel territories. The tide of war had turned completely as the oppressed became the liberators. The Galactic Council was discovering that their authoritarian system was fundamentally unstable when faced with determined resistance. Species that had been loyal for centuries were defecting as they saw the possibility of a better future. Young engineer Shinbyo Ram was working with alien biotechnicians to develop new forms of living technology that would serve Alliance purposes. The organic systems being created were more advanced than anything the Council had ever imagined. The revolution that humanity had started was spreading across the galaxy like wildfire. Oppressed peoples everywhere were rising against their masters, inspired by the example of one small blue planet that had refused to surrender as the 5th month of the war ended. The Galactic Council was facing the complete collapse of their empire. The Alliance had grown from a handful of rebels to a galactic superpower that controlled dozens of star systems and was gaining strength every day. The final phase of the war was about to begin as Alliance forces prepared to attack the Council homeworld itself. The species that had been slaves for centuries were now strong enough to overthrow their masters and create a new order based on freedom and cooperation. The final meeting of the Galactic Council was chaos beyond anything in their 1,000-year history. Representatives screamed accusations at each other while some delegates had already fled the chamber in fear. The great empire that had ruled the galaxy was collapsing in real time. Ambassador Kreltar stood at the central podium trying desperately to maintain some semblance of order, but his authority had evaporated completely. The human campaign that was supposed to demonstrate Council power had instead revealed their fatal weaknesses to the entire galaxy. The Vorlon Empire representative slammed his armored fist on his desk hard enough to crack the metal surface. "This disaster is entirely your fault, Kreltar," he roared. "Your incompetence has destroyed everything our ancestors built over a millennium." The few remaining loyal species were demanding explanations that Ambassador Kreltar could not provide. How could one primitive planet have inspired rebellion across dozens of star systems? The mathematical impossibility of the situation made no logical sense outside the Council Chamber's Alliance warships were already entering the Nexus Prime system. The joint fleet consisted of vessels from 23 different species, all working together under human tactical doctrine. The sight was unprecedented in galactic history. Commander Park Daeho stood on the bridge of the flagship New Sol, watching as the Council homeworld grew larger on the viewing screen beside him. stood Ambassador Vel Kira of the Aquarians and General Vex Morlan of the Zephyrians. The alliance had become a true partnership between equals. The Council defense fleet that moved to intercept them was a shadow of its former strength. Most of their best ships had been destroyed or captured during the rebellions that swept across their territory. The remaining vessels were crewed by demoralized soldiers who no longer believed in their cause. Captain Li Dongmin led the first wave of alliance fighters in a coordinated attack that overwhelmed the Council defenses. Within hours, the hybrid technologies developed by Dr. Kim Hai-Jin teams proved superior to pure Council science in every engagement. The biological weapons created by Shin-Bio Ram had spread through the Council fleet, turning their own ships against them. Organic neural networks that had once been their greatest advantage now served alliance purposes as the virus programs. Reprogrammed enemy vessels. Ambassador Kreltar received word that his own government had collapsed as rebel forces seized control of his homeworld. The political coalition that had supported the human war was now fleeing into exile or switching sides to avoid execution. The council chamber emptied rapidly as representatives abandoned the sinking empire. Some species formally declared their independence while others immediately petitioned to join the growing alliance. The authority that had taken centuries to build crumbled in a matter of hours. Dr. Kim Hai-Jin monitored the battle from the Alliance command ship, watching as her hybrid weapon systems performed flawlessly against Council technology. The combination of human creativity and alien engineering was proving unstoppable. Young communications specialist Park So-young coordinated the surrender of Council forces across dozens of star systems. Many enemy commanders were relieved to end a war they no longer believed in. The rebellion had become an avalanche that nothing could stop. Within days of the battle at Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council officially dissolved as an organization. Ambassador Kreltar fled into exile aboard a small scout ship carrying only the clothes on his back. The mighty empire had become a footnote in history. The Alliance moved quickly to establish a new form of galactic government based on principles that humans had championed throughout their resistance. Democracy, individual rights, and the absolute rejection of forced servitude became the foundation of the new order. Commander Park Dae-ho was chosen to address the first assembly of the Galactic Federation. The ceremony took place on a neutral world where representatives from over 100 species gathered to sign the founding treaties. The Great Hall was filled with beings of every imaginable type, from the crystalline Zephyrians to the aquatic Aquarians to the tree-like inhabitants of forest worlds. All had come together as equals to create something that had never existed before. President Choi Soo-bin delivered the opening address to the assembly. Her words broadcast across the galaxy to billions of beings who were experiencing freedom for the first time in their lives. Today we celebrate not the victory of one species over another, but the triumph of liberty over tyranny. The founding principles of the Galactic Federation were simple but revolutionary. All member species would govern themselves according to their own customs and values. No species would be forced to serve another, and all conflicts would be resolved through negotiation rather than conquest. General Nam Ki-seok was appointed as the first Supreme Commander of Federation Defense Forces, with the understanding that the position would rotate between species every few years. The military would exist only to protect member worlds, not to conquer new ones. Dr. Kim Hai-Jin became the Director of Interspecies Technology Exchange, overseeing programs that shared scientific knowledge freely between all member species. The collaborative research that had won the war would continue in peacetime to benefit everyone. The technology sharing programs produced advances that benefited every member of the Federation. Energy sources that could power entire worlds, communication systems that connected distant galaxies, and medical techniques that extended life for all species. Captain Li Dongmin was given command of the first multi-species exploration fleet with crews drawn from dozens of different worlds. Their mission was to discover new civilizations and invite them to join the Federation as equals rather than subjects. Shin-Bio Ram continued her research into biological technology, but now her work focused on healing rather than warfare. The organic systems she developed could repair damaged ecosystems and restore worlds that had been poisoned by centuries of exploitation. Colonel Baek Min-ji established the Federation Military Academy, where officers from all member species learned to work together. The diversity of tactical approaches and strategic thinking created military leaders unlike any who had existed before. The former Council territories were slowly integrated into the Federation as free worlds rather than conquered provinces. Species that had been oppressed for centuries were finally able to govern themselves and develop their full potential. Young engineer Park So-young designed the quantum communication network that connected all Federation worlds, allowing instant communication across any distance. The technology made possible the kind of cooperation that had defeated the Council. The Harmony Worlds established cultural exchange programs that allowed beings from different species to learn about each other peaceful ways. The music, art, and literature that emerged from these collaborations enriched the entire galaxy. The Aquarian Federation shared their underwater cities with land-dwelling species, while others opened their mountain strongholds and forest homes. The diversity of environments available to Federation citizens was staggering. Trade between Federation worlds flourished as each species contributed their unique products and services. The economic prosperity that resulted from free cooperation far exceeded what had been possible under Council tyranny. Ambassador Val Kira established the Federation Diplomatic Corps, which worked to peacefully contact isolated civilizations and invite them to join the growing alliance. The methods used were based on respect and mutual benefit rather than threats and conquest. The former Council worlds were amazed by the transformation that freedom brought. Planets that had been strip-mined for resources were restored to their natural beauty while oppressed populations rediscovered their cultural heritage. General Vex Moreland led reconstruction efforts on worlds damaged by centuries of Council exploitation. The engineering projects undertaken by the Federation dwarfed anything that had been attempted before, but the combined resources of free peoples made miracles possible. Galaxy had been forever changed by humanity's simple refusal to surrender their freedom. What began as one species' desperate fight for survival had become a revolution that liberated countless civilizations and created a new age of cooperation. Commander Park Dae-ho stood before a monument erected on Earth to honor Admiral Yang Min-ho and all who had died fighting for freedom. The inscription read in dozens of languages, "They chose death over slavery, and their sacrifice freed the galaxy." The lesson echoed across the cosmos, reaching even the most distant worlds. Some things are worth any sacrifice, and freedom is the greatest of these. The human spirit had ignited a fire that would burn forever in the hearts of all free beings. Dr. Kim Hae-jin final report to the Federation Assembly concluded with words that became the unofficial motto of the new government. When diverse minds work together in freedom, there is no limit to what can be achieved. The universe itself awaits our discovery. As the first year of the Galactic Federation came to an end, beings throughout known space celebrated the anniversary of the day humanity said no to tyranny. The revolution that started with one small blue planet had transformed the entire galaxy. The stars themselves seemed brighter in a universe where freedom had triumphed over oppression and where every being had the right to determine their own destiny. The age of empires was over, and the age of cooperation had begun. Peace reigned across the galaxy, not because one species had conquered all others, but because all species